Alright guys, so it looks like the Sword and Shield era is on the rise, and this is a really interesting topic because I think a lot of people just always felt with Sword and Shield that it was just going to be continuously sitting on shelves and it would be there forever. And there has been a distinct shift in the market just within the last month, and it actually got triggered with Evolving Skies having its huge, enormous rise. And what's happened is now that has trickled on down, and other sets like Fusion Strike are now seeing crazy amounts of growth. And I think the market has just realized, hey, we have taken Sword and Shield sets for granted, and now we can see that they are on the rise. And now people are thinking, hey, should I be catching Sword and Shield sets? Is this going to trickle down to other sets? Well, we're seeing a very, very pivotal moment in the market right now. What is so fascinating about this, guys, and what I want to go into it is, and I'm going to cover some data why this is such a unique time for the TCG, in particular Sword and Shield. For such a long time, it felt like Evolving Skies was the only winner out of Sword and Shield. You did have Rebel Clash and base set, and I suppose Darkness Ablaze have these small rises, but they were nothing compared to what Evolving Skies was. So when Evolving Skies came out, everyone was so obsessed with that set that it just boomed. And really, it was a one-horse race. It was Evolving Skies at the top, and the other sets of Sword and Shield just never could catch up. Why Rebel Clash and base set aren't on the same legs as Evolving Skies, I'm going to just quickly show you something right now. If you look at Google Trends, right, the Pokemon card search term, which I'm searching here, I've got this set to worldwide, and I've got it from the start of 2020 all the way to where we are today. Now guys, where I'm sitting here right now, Rebel Clash and base set released before May. As you can see here, I'm sitting at May. And you can see the COVID boom happened right here, starting in October 2020. Guys, look at that graph right there, and you can see that the interest for the hobby from when Rebel Clash was released to when the COVID boom hit, which was right here, it 4 times in popularity. Now, you have to understand that Rebel Clash and Sword and Shield aren't genuinely loved sets that made them rise in value. The rise happened more so just because of timing and position in the market, and that's why I don't put that like base set and Rebel Clash on the same level as Evolving Skies, because as you can see, Evolving Skies was printed to demand. They did an enormous amount of reprints, and it still got the prices it did because it was a good product. The other sets were more just they experienced good fortune in terms of their rise because they were released before, 4 times more interest was about to enter the hobby. So they're not on the same level as Evolving Skies and the other sets, purely based that Evolving Skies was in the middle of the demand and it still sold out with all these reprints. It had like 2 or 3 reprints, man. So the fact that Evolving Skies got to that level is quite incredible. It really looks like Sword and Shield is on the rise, and I want to go cover some pricing. So the first thing, and I want to go cover what started Sword and Shield to start booming. Guys, I'm on Evolving Skies right now, and I'm on the year graph. Now, Evolving Skies was always pretty much double the price, or even close to triple the price of most booster boxes. As you can see, last year in April 2023, around this time, it was sitting at $394 USD per booster box, which is very expensive. All right, so that's already, these retailed at 120 US. So, they're already sitting at, pretty much 400 US as of last year. As you can see, it was pretty stable throughout the year. I had this little bump to 450, which was, pretty decent, but it kind of trickled a little bit down and it just was finding its feet. And then bam, from January till now, it just went on this exponential rise. And now Evolving Skies is sitting at $685 per box. Wild. That is so expensive for a set that's not even 3 years old. September this year, it becomes 3 full years old. That is some enormous growth for a set that had a lot of prints as well, man. It's not like it was short printed. Evolving Skies had reprints galore happening, and it still managed to get this price. So that really is this is obviously the main shark of the set of Sword and Shield. But going on to Brilliant Stars, you can see Brilliant Stars in the last year. I'm going to just go to the 3 months. Hasn't had anything really interesting happen with it. It did have a few reprints that set it back, but you can see it's currently sitting at around that 157 mark. You can still buy it pretty easily. So Brilliant Stars is in a position right now where people are thinking, oh yeah, it's pretty available, but you know what, guys? These times now where Brilliant Stars is just like going up, down. These are the unique opportunities for these booster boxes right now because people are just not looking for it. I'm going to go into that when really interesting things happen with Fusion Strike. Going on to Chilling Reign, which is a really unique set that kind of showed off the power of alt arts. Battle styles were where they were introduced, but I feel like they found their feet more with Chilling Reign when it was released. And you can see Chilling Reign had this weird thing sitting at $140 a booster box from last year. And Chilling Reign's just been on a very steady rise, but you can see in the last month, I'm just going to pull that up, you can see pretty much from 167, it shot up to 192. That's only in the last month, 30 USD price difference just in the month. I don't know how high Chilling Reign can go from now, really, because are more people going to be like, oh, should I get it? Are people just going to be, is it going to be bullish? Are people going to be calming down? We don't know, but it's interesting to see Chilling Reign, which was one of the most available sets. This was your bargain set. This and Battle Styles, man. Like everyone was just like, oh yeah. It was kind of like the ugly brother or the ugly stepsister compared to Evolving Skies. Everyone just looked at Chilling Reign and said, oh, it's just a set in the back. And it's performing quite well now, so it's really interesting to see. Moving on to Fusion Strike, which I believe is the most interesting set out of Sword and Shield to have this rise. Guys, check this out. It was sitting at such a consistent, this is a 6-month timeline, 140, 150, and I'm gonna pull this into the last month right now. Look what's happened. It was just sitting in March 5th for 160 USD. And in the last month, you are now looking at 230 USD per booster box. What happened with Fusion Strike? I have no idea, but it seemed that just there was a collective mindset within the community that said, you know what, Fusion Strike is awesome. And it's kind of funny that people are now thinking Fusion Strike is awesome because this was always an amazing set. You've got the Gengar VMAX, you've got the Espeon VMAX, you've got the Celebi Alt-Art, you've got the Mew VMAX and the Mew Alt-Art. It's interesting that people are all trying to catch it now, which is, it's funny, but at the same time, it's such a fantastic set. It's a shame that it took nearly 3 years for people to realize how well it is as a set. But this is now booming, and I think Fusion Strike is going to be the second most loved set of Sword and Shield for the remainder of this year. I think this can go to quite high prices as well, guys, because I think when looking at the cards inside of Fusion Strike, they are phenomenal. And it's the same as Evolving Skies. You've got the evolutions in Evolving Skies, but this has, you got your Gengar, you got your Espeon, you got your Celebi, you got Mew. It's a really great set, and I love the colors of the booster box. So it's cool to see Fusion Strike on the rise. Whether or not how high it's going to go will be interesting, but we're just going to have to wait and see how high this set can go. What I want to go into is I want to talk about why Sword and Shield is rising and why it's a good opportunity, I believe, right now. Not for the ones that have risen. I actually talk about this a lot, guys. I don't like going into sets when they've risen because to me, the point is, why are you jumping in when it's already done its growth? I've always on the belief, do grab the set before the growth happens. That is my way of doing things. I never really feel like I miss out if the set grows up because I like to go for sets before this happens. And so you have to really look at the opportunities right now in the market for what are the booster boxes that will rise. Why Sword and Shield will become one of the defining TCG moments in history and why it's such a good set is I want to go back to that Google Trends chart, guys. We're looking at Pokemon cards. Now I want to expand this and I want to go to from 2004 to the present, right? Look at the search term Pokemon cards, guys. We're in 2004, and you can see Pokemon cards were always they were searched, but they weren't anything crazy. They had this little boom, and then they went dip down. They've always been consistent. Then during Pokemon Go, there was an enormous spike in Pokemon cards, and then it went down. Now, guys, look where we are sitting currently with Pokemon cards and how much they are searched within the world, but more in particular, look at the COVID boom, this spot right here. You can see from 2021 how many people were involved. It had 4 times more eyes on it, and funnily enough, it looks like it came from one of the lowest points in history for interest, which was April 2020, and by the time it got here, which is March 2021, it literally was at the highest point of most searched volume in terms of Pokemon cards. What this tells me is that there was an enormous amount of fans that entered this hobby and they all experienced the Sword and Shield sets. What's going to happen with the people that grow up? What's going to be happening with people who get nostalgic for this era? You had so many people involved. It's going to create so many memories. As the years go on, people are going to say, oh, you know what? Scarlet and Violet's good. Sun and Moon was cool, but Sword and Shield, that was the set. It's connected to the Nintendo Switch. It's got such a big, massive following. And not only that, it was released during the COVID boom. Now, COVID was a very hard time for a lot of people. And what do we do when we find hard times? We usually try to connect with things in those hard times that give us, that they help us through that period. So a lot of people would be seeing these cards that they help them get through the period. You know, people that were stuck in lockdown, people were locked in their homes. That the trading cards during this COVID boom were like, people were like, oh, at least I got these cards. At least they're giving me some sort of satisfaction during such a difficult time in my life. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Sword and Shield as the years go on. Sword and Shield, I think, is one of the greatest generations of Pokemon. And I say this as a fan for over 20 years. It's not, I enjoyed the games and all that, but what Sword and Shield did for Pokemon is they put Pokemon back on the map, man. Like, they were already great, they were already big, but what Sword and Shield did with the culmination of Nintendo Switch is it brought all these fans, all these people back, and it put Pokemon right back at the top. But I think the next sets that we have to be on the lookout for are Lost Origin, Astral Radiance, Silver Tempest, and Brilliant Stars. I think these right now are at this like little point. And guys, we can see it. We can see what happened with Fusion Strike. They're right now just all on this like same playing field, 140 a box, 130 a box. Everyone's kind of coming. And once they boom, once it happens and it shoots, people literally all try flock at the one time. So, you know, you really want to be a bit more forecast that a bit better and not just be like, oh, I'm going to get it when it starts rising. Have the confidence, man. Have the confidence. So, you know, this wasn't, and you know, guys, I believe that these alt art sets are going to do far better than base set and Rebel Clash in the very long term, because Rebel Clash and base set, you know, they just had the good experience like I went through. They released during that time. They didn't have that demand, that real market demand like Evolving Skies did, which is the most important thing for a set. It's not, the set was short, but it's how much market demand was for there. So I really think that these are going to be the big ones. But guys, what this really leaves me thinking is Pokemon right now is at the top of their game, but there are other competitors in the market that are coming in. Now, Pokemon has experience with this because in 2003, Pokemon lost their crown to Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon were at the top of their game in 1999, 2001. They were really, really smashing it. Once Yu-Gi-Oh! Came, Yu-Gi-Oh! Became the most popular TCG, and it literally just blew Pokemon out of the water, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Took the crown. Pokemon have experience with this, and now we're going through, you know, Disney has just released Lorcana. You know, it's a really successful trading card game. Bandai's have One Piece, which One Piece is smashing it. And they've also now released a new one called Dragon Ball Fusion World, which if you do not pre-order your Dragon Ball Fusion World sets 6 months in advance, you can forget about it. They have pre-orders for a set releasing in August, which is already selling out. That is the kind of demand Dragon Ball Fusion World has. It really leaves me thinking that Dragon Ball Fusion World is going to be one of the best sets to go into, and I talk about that in this video, which I'm going to link here, which is the 7 reasons why you should be investing in Dragon Ball Fusion World and why I think it's a genius investment. The fact that you cannot get Fusion World without pre-ordering 6 months in advance shows that there might be new TCGs in the market that can really perform well and can create crazy growth in the future. I really recommend you check that video out, guys, and I'll see you there.